different, wants. One of them here, it says, I ask Allah, the one who has honored your position, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So first we're going to talk about this word, akrama. What does akrama or ikram mean? For example, you might have heard ikram al-dayf. What does that mean? Do ikram to the guest. We'll talk about ikram. What does this word, Arabic, mean? Wa akramani. So two types of ikram in general in Arabic means honored or to be dignified. And this word occurs in the Quran as well. Those who are, for example, go to heaven, they're of the mukrameen, for example. They have ikram has happened to them, has been honored. They have been honored to go to heaven. Or others will give examples in the Quran. Who else is honored in the Holy Quran? Wa akramani bik, and Allah has also honored me through you, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This is from Ziyarat Ashura. One of the great blessings we have from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, that we're saying that, Ya Allah, you have honored Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and you have honored me through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This is a great position, and later on we'll look. And actually in other places, very interesting, if we look at, Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud, for example, is another term in Ziyat Ashura, the praiseworthy station. Praiseworthy station means what? What is Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud? This is from the Quran. It was given to the Prophet. According to the Quran, the Prophet has Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud, the praiseworthy position, which a tradition and identifies as shafa'at, as intercession. The Prophet has this position. Very interesting, it says that whoever recites Ziyad al-Ashura, you're asking Allah to also give me al-Maqam al-Mahmud. Saying, Allah, give me the praiseworthy position. Ya Allah, give me shafa'ah. So what kind of ziyarat is this? What kind of connection is this that we have with Imam Hussain alayhi salam, that you are directly asking Allah to give me the praiseworthy station, to give me the position that I myself, as a za'ir of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, can intercede with God's permission, and whoever Allah allows. But I can also help in the hereafter take some people to heaven. It's a very high position. How do I get this position that I can take others into heaven? Again, and I say this again, with Allah's permission. It is through Imam Hussain. Look at the ziyarah. It says, Akramani, akrama maqamak. Allah has given you, Imam Hussain, position. Wa akramani bika, has given me also a noble position. So when you look at this word kareem or ikram in the Quran, sometimes it's used, innahu la Quranun kareem. One of the titles or the labels that the Quran has is that it is a noble book. It is a noble book. So Quran has this title. Or we have in the Quran, وَمَنْ يُهِنِ اللَّهِ فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ مُكْرِمٍ, 22:18 in the Holy Quran. And whoever Allah humiliates, whoever Allah ruins, for him there is no bestower of honor. There's no mukrim for him. So mukrim is the opposite of yuhin. Whoever Allah humiliates, nobody can honor him. Because we've seen this time and time again. There are individuals who Allah in this world, He humiliates them. The reputation is gone. There will also be those in the hereafter, Allah will humiliate them. Who can save them? Who can come to their honor? So therefore, you see this word being used by the Holy Quran. You see this word being used that Allah does ikram. Allah makes a person mukrim if He wants to. Also, there's an interesting story in the Holy Quran in Surah Yasin, which is the heart of the Holy Quran, which is a very, important surah that, those who would recite it, daily, for example, they get a very high position. It's one of the recommendations from our scholars to acquaint yourselves with the surah, Surah Yasin, the 36th chapter of the Holy Quran. In the 36th chapter of the Quran, there's an interesting story about a person who ikram happened to, who was honored. So we are trying to understand honored. Quran says, maybe I'm sure when I say this, many of you who have recited Surah Yasin from before, you understand it, and I'm going to open the story because one of the beautiful things about the Holy Quran is a lot of times names are not given in the Quran. In these stories, names are not given. Places are not, proper places are not also given because it gets very confusing. If there's all these cities sometimes, all these people, then you need another book of reference to say, well, who are these people? Who is this? I can't really know what's going on. But Quran very nicely says the story many times, and then later on in tafsir and in hadith, you go and see who was this person, who was this place. So we have the story of, so some say here that it is the story during the time of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. It says, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابَ الْقَرْيَةِ. Present to them an example, the people of the city. Verse 13. Who are the people of the city? Some say it's Antakya, an area around Turkey, in Turkey. Antakya, that there was Ashab al-Qarya, these people. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. When we sent for them, messengers. But here, some of the Mufassirin are saying they're actually just messengers, not of Allah. Messengers of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, apostles that Jesus alayhi salam has sent out so that in Turkey, that area, they can get some guidance. Right? إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ اثْنَيْنِ. Many of you are wondering, you recite this so many times, but you're always wondering, what is this Quran talking about? When we sent to them two people, we sent them two messengers. فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا. They lied to them, they denied them. فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. Then we sent three messengers to them. فَقَالُوا إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. We are messengers. Again, according to this tafsir, messengers of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Then it continues, but from the people that are everyone denying always, there's an example of one person who believes, or a group of people who believes. And here later on, Quran mentions that another person came, وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ. See how Quran says رَجُلٌ, a man came. Does it say his name? No. Does it say رَجُلٌ, a man came. But the Mufassirin says Habib al-Najjar. This is a person by the name of Habib al-Najjar who was ill. Either his child was ill or himself was ill. And he sees these, apostles of Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, and he directly gets cured, or his son gets cured. Some even say his son was dead and they gave him life again, for example. Because some of the miracles of Prophet Isa alayhi salam was that he would give life to the dead. Some people were dead maybe thousands of years before, and Jesus alayhi salam gave life to him. This is one of the miracles of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So Habib al-Najjar gets cured. Him or his family member, his son or himself gets cured. And because he sees this miracle of the messengers of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he comes forward to his people and he starts very courageously, very bravely defending the truth, defending monotheism. He comes, it says, from Aqsa al-Madinah, from the far parts of the town. He says, yas'a, running. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اتَّبَعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Follow these messengers. اتَّبَعُوا مَنْ لَا يَسْأَلُكُمْ أَجْرًا وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Not only did they deny these messengers, they killed them. They killed these messengers that performed miracles. All three of them, they were dead. So it says, follow their path, for example. And he says, وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي. And why should I not worship he who created me and to whom you will be returned? One person sometimes is so courageous against his entire city, fighting. After, the Mufassirin, some of them said this as already that they have killed three, and now Habib al-Najjar is coming, he wants to be the next. And what he's doing is obviously he's going to be the next. But we learn this shuja'ah and this, what part of this ikram that we see that the prophets give and give us honor, they also give us those traits that we need to have in order to become like the companions of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When you look at these companions, some of them have, different ranks. Some of them never before participated in Siffin or Nahrawan. Some of them did. were in the battles of Imam Ali alayhi salam, they're with Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and now they're with Imam Hussain. They have a very good history. But some of them, they didn't have any history like that. Like for example, Hur ibn Ziyad Riyahi. He didn't have history that he was in, for example, Siffin. He was actually general, an army of the Yazidis. But he switches, and he has this position in Ikram and Shuja'ah that he gains from Imam Hussain alayhi salam in such a way that the Imams, when they say salam to the Imams, to Imam Hussain, they also say salam to the Shuhada. What position do they have that the Imams, the infallible Imams, also say salam to the Shuhada? Or they say, Abi antum wa ummi, for example. They say, may I sacrifice, antum, means you, plural, not just Imam Hussain. May I be sacrificed for you, these companions of Imam Hussain. So we learn that through being similar to the qualities of the prophets or the Imams, a person gets ikram. So let's go with the story of Habib Najjar. So he keeps saying this and talks about Tawheed and talks about not worshipping others. For example, inni, and then it continues, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Then they said to him, enter paradise. If you love paradise so much, Habib Najjar, you love to be of the monotheists, you love to be, go, we'll send you to heaven, for example. So قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. Then he is killed. The Quran doesn't give all the descriptions. Here it censors all the act of violence. Now he's there. Habib Najjar followed these three messengers, died, became a shaheed. And now he is saying from the other world, from Barzakh, now he's saying, قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. I wish my people knew what position I had. You see, I wish they knew what happened. بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي. That Allah has forgiven me. One of the best blessings that Allah can give you is forgiveness. Allah has forgiven Habib Najjar, whatever he did before. And everyone besides the Ma'sumin had done something before. Whatever Allah they have done, completely forgiven. بِمَا غَفَرَ رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي. This is the entire point of the story. Was what were we going over? Ikram means a nobility, honor. And I wish my people would know of how my Lord has forgiven me and placed me, وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ, and has placed me with the honored. So Habib Najjar, according to the Quran, is one who became honored. And we in Ziyarat Ashura are saying that Allah has honored you, Imam Hussain, has done ikram of you, and has honored me through you, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So how is Imam Hussain honored? Imam Hussain alayhi salam is honored. Even the soil, the turba that he has died in Karbala, that land, that soil that he has died, that is honored. Did you know it's not allowed to even abuse the turba? Some centers I saw, they're not paying attention. There's turba in the boxes, the dust, they're putting in the vacuum cleaner, for example. So stop it, what are you doing? This is the turba of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. If this is the turba, you cannot do hatk. You cannot dishonor even the dirt of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Look at the books of the fuqaha. It has to be honored. Even if some of it is dropped, turba of Imam Hussain is dropped, you have to pick it up, don't dishonor it. Even the dirt, one of our great Maraja, Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani said, today I cannot even talk about Imam Hussein's status, his nobility. Today I'm just going to talk about the dirt of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The dirt that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, that when he became shaheed, before he became shaheed, the Prophet came and gave it to Salama and told Salama before, when this soil becomes red, know that Hussain ibn Ali alayhi salam is shaheed. This soil will become red. This soil that we say one of the best things to do sujood on is the soil, the dirt of Karbala alayhi salam, and it said that 7 layers, barriers are removed. If you see those are Ahl al-Diqqa and those who are trying to get very elevated, they try to make sure they do sujood on the turba of Imam Hussain. They prostrate on the turba of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Or if you have, for example, tasbih made out of turba, it is said that it does dhikr. You get rewarded for remembrance even if you're not doing dhikr. There's so many mysteries in the dirt of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Or we have the story For example, that Muhammad ibn Muslim comes to the Imam alayhi salam and he's feeling very tired because he had run from Kufa all the way to Medina. The Imam knows that he's in town, offers one of his servants and gives him a drink. He's too sick to visit the Imam. He knows he's sick, but the servant of Imam alayhi salam says, drink this and go and see the Imam. Because in the tradition has, he drinks a little bit of this, immediately he feels better. Immediately. He comes and visits the Imam and asks him, what did you give to me? I want it for my family, for ourselves. What is this? In the tradition, Raya said it was some of the Torbat al-Shafa, the Torbat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam he gave. So how many ways that has Allah honored Imam Hussain alayhi salam? One, the Torba. One, we see, for example, how is Imam Hussain alayhi salam honored? That whoever makes dua under the qubba, under the dome, next to the shrine of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, his dua is mustajab. Look at the tradition from Imam Hadi alayhi salam. Imam Hadi was in Samarra. A person is going to visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and Imam Hadi, who is the infallible Imam, asks this person, make dua for me. And they're wondering, you're the infallible Imam. How can I make dua for you? You're the Imam, you have we call it the Qutb, the center of the entire, universe. That Allah is giving His fada'il, Allah is giving His grace by the Imams, by the complete human, then to the rest of the humans. And then the tradition has here that they ask Imam Hadi alayhi salam, and he mentions that there are places that Allah loves someone to pray. There are places that are honored, that Allah has been ordered for those places to be, places that Allah loves to be called upon. And I love to have someone pray for me in a place where Allah loves to be called upon, the tomb of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. These are places where Allah loves to be called upon. And I want also in the same way for you to pray for me in this place. So Allah has given honor to Imam Hussain alayhi salam by his shrine, by whoever visits him. Allah has given the honor to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When you look at Arba'in is coming, 20 million people will be visiting him this year, 1400 years after, around 1200, 1400 years after. Allah has given honor to Imam Hussain alayhi salam by the 9 Imams that descend through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. All the Imams afterwards are Hussaini, are from Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And the Imam of the age, Imam Mahdi, is from the descendants of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. These are some of the examples of honoring of Imam Hussain. Now, how has Allah honored me? Through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. How do I get honored through Imam Hussain? There's a very interesting hadith that Al-Qama ibn Muhammad al-Hadrami says, I requested Imam Baqir alayhi salam to teach me a ziyarah, that from nearby on this day, or say from far, I can visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam and I can recite something for him. For this day of Ashura, and I can recite salutations on Imam Hussain from nearby. The Imam says, Oh Al-Qama, after you direct salutations towards him, first send the salam, salutations, salam to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, perform 2 units of salat. So, some ways that we perform Ziyarat Ashura, the daqiq way, and I said this Thursday night, the way that Ayatollah Mirza Shirazi says, Sahib Fatwa Tambako, the one who made tobacco prohibited to fight against the British, he says the best way is this, to first, and the narration says this, is first say salam to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, stand, first say salam, however you like, say assalamu alaykum ya Abu Abdullah. Then curse the enemies of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Then here it says, then you do 2 rakats of salat. Then you start Ziyarat Ashura. So how is it? As-salam, mukhtasar, lan mukhtasar, and then 2 rakats, salat. Then I perform the Ziyarat Ashura and make sure I do the 100 la'ans. That's the real way, is to do it with 100. Now if you cannot do the 100, Allahumma, there's a narration that says you could just say these sentences 100 times. Allahumma al'anhum jami'a 100 times. Allahumma anhum jami, Allahumma anhum. How long does that take? Like 5 minutes? And the part when you get to Assalamu ala al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn Hussein wa ala awlad al-Hussein wa ala ashab Hussein, that 100 times. Not the from the beginning to end that part 100. This maybe takes 15 minutes. Then when it's done, then you do another salat. That's how Ayatollah Mirza Shirazi says. This is the shortest way I've seen. There's other ways how, for example, Sahib Urwa says to do it. There's also some of the traditions or some of the ways they say to do it is with Ziyarat Aminullah in it. But this is the shortest. How do you do it? Salam, Alan, that's it. 2 units salat. And Ziyarat Ashura with the 100. And then the salat. Then he says Al-Ghama. So he's saying in the same way almost. Say salutations. Then perform the ziyarah, the 2 rakat prayer. Then the ziyarah. By reciting the ziyarah, you have truly called him in the way that his angels call him. And then he says, and Allah gives you 1,000, gives you 1,000 rewards. We said, Allah gives me honor through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. 1,000 in Arabic is today's 1 million. 1 million rewards. And forgives you 1,000 sins. Allah honors you through Ziyarat Ashura. Allah honors you. And this is something, later on the Imam says you can say it every day. Some say, oh, Ziyarat Ashura, it's too heavy, for example. It's going to burden your soul. In this tradition, the Imam is saying you can say it every day. So 1,000 rewards, ajr. 1,000, 1 million rewards. 1 million forgivenesses of sin. You become pak afterwards. You become purely, pure. Then it says 1,000 levels. He elevates your status. If you truly remember, these things sometimes we approach as just rituals, just as adari, just wear black. But no, a true za'ir has the capability. This has the quwwah. This has potential. This has, in another word, in fiqh they say muqtadi. This has that potential. If there are no barriers to do this to you, if you do it correctly, if you have that status, give you 1 million rewards, forgive 1 million sins of yours, and to bring you up 1 million stations higher. 1 million stations higher. Imagine those who do not do Ziyarat Ashura, those who do not do Ziyarat Imam Hussain, those who just say, I just want to just pray and be good to people, which is good, but then you won't benefit from this. And actually, I always say, those who love Imam Hussain, they will pray more, they will help people more, they are willing to give their lives more and sacrifice more for Islam. Because Imam Hussain is a university for us. It's a university to teach us kamal and how to reach perfection. And then it continues. How much more do you want from the reward of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Ziyarat of Imam Ashura? Then it says, you will be, we said 1 million levels, then you will be considered as one of those who are martyred among him. This has the potential of reciting Ziyarat Ashura as if you are shaheed with Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and the rewards of the prophets, apostles, and all those who have visited Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Who has been martyred will be written for you. Al-Qama continues, when the Imam finished reciting the ziyarat, he said to me, O Al-Qama, if you recite the ziyarat every day during your life, do it, and all its reward will be yours. So Imam Baqir alayhi salam is giving us a great tool, a great instrument, and we're understanding from this that how Allah has honored us, how Allah will forgive our sins, how Allah will give us rank, how Allah will give us ikram through Imam Hussain, as long as we are true azadar, as long as we also follow the message of Imam Hussain. Don't be of those who cries for Imam Hussain, as how Sayyid Imam Musa Sadr said. I apologize, he said it this way. He says, don't be like those who cry for Imam Hussain, but they behead Imam Hussain. They behead Imam Hussain. He says, how do you behead Imam Hussain? He says, they cry for Imam Hussain, but they kill the message of Imam Hussain. They kill the message of Imam Hussain. Because Imam Hussain alayhi salam taught us about fighting against, for example, one lesson, dhulm, oppression. But we recite Ziyarat Ashura, and they're friends with the zalimeen and oppressors. They forget the mazlum, they forget the oppressed. Or for example, other cases of from bravery, from all the other messages that of loyalty, all these other messages that Imam Hussain has given. And I want you to imagine how much there is in this to not stop this message and not change Ashura to just a ritual where I wear black, I cry. And I think this is a good Ashura. The goal of this is to become an inherent, to have that ma'iyat with Imam Hussain. Ma'iyat happens, that companionship happens when my traits and my virtues become like the traits of Imam Hussain. Whatever Imam Hussain alayhi salam had, from for example haya, modesty, from bravery, loyalty, all these different great fada'il that Imam Hussain alayhi salam had, when you have those traits, then you will be with him. Then you will be a true Zair. But not that person who has nothing like Imam Hussain. His lifestyle is completely different than Imam Hussain. The message that he is teaching in Ashura is completely different than the message that Imam Hussain alayhi salam of commanding good, of forbidding evil. These are the traditions themselves, why Imam Hussain alayhi salam is rebelling, is fighting against Yazid, for example. So therefore, we ourselves have other verses of Quran to talk about, maybe inshallah next time. But we learn from this line of Ziyarat Ashura, فَأَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ الَّذِي أَكْرَمَ مَقَامَكَ وَأَكْرَمَنِي بِكَ. I ask Allah who has honored your position and has honored me because of the position that you have, that inshallah may Allah make all of us of the mukrameen, inshallah, give us a high elevated status, and this is the status of those who enter heaven, inshallah, and make our actions like the actions of Imam Hussain, make our traits like the traits of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We ask Allah to forgive our sins, inshallah, to answer all of your du'as, to give shafa to Jama Aghay Hassan Zadeh, inshallah, who's in ICU right now. Make dua for him. And we ask Allah to forgive our marhumeen and to help all of the mustad'afin and madlumeen throughout the world, and give victory, inshallah, to all of those who are fighting against oppression, inshallah, and to expedite the return of Imam al-Zaman with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahu.